everyone, I'm Heather Poduska, star maker for entrepreneurs who want to unlock their potential, command any stage, and make blockbuster profits. Welcome to Thrive, the show where I bring you tips, resources, and people to help you create a brand that makes you happy and profitable. Here we go.
Hi everyone, I'm Heather Poduska, and welcome to this episode of Thrive, How to Have a Peaceful Death, with my guest, Deanna Cochran. Deanna Cochran is a death doula and a world leader in the positive death movement. She's the creator of the first multidisciplinary community called the End of Life Practitioners Collective, which is a support for practitioners and a resource for communities. These practitioners serve the families and organizations of people at the end of their life. Deanna has also been featured by the New York Times and is the author of the upcoming book, But I'm Not Dying, Palliative Care from Diagnosis Onward. In this episode, Deanna explains to us what a death doula actually is. Probably a lot of you have never heard of that term. I know I hadn't until I'd met Deanna. And how she found her calling as a young child being exposed to death with her grandmother. And Deanna also talks to us about how we can prepare for death in a positive way and how our families can prepare for our death in a positive way so that we can go on and enjoy our lives now and the end of our life as well as possible. Then we shift gears and talk a little bit about business, because a lot of people who serve people who have giant hearts aren't creating as much wealth in their businesses as they could. And Deanna has turned that page and built a thriving business and is serving people from her heart. So it's a great discussion. Deanna is a light in this world and does very important work. This was a fascinating episode to me. I hope you enjoy the show. Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Poduska, and welcome to Thrive, the show where I bring you tips, resources, and people to help you create a brand that makes you happy and profitable. I want to thank you for being here today. We are a show that brings you 30 minutes of action-packed, high-value content from industry leaders who are growing their businesses, making an impact, and rocking their brands. And I'm super excited today to have my friend and special guest, Deanna Cochran, who is one of the country's leading experts in helping families and people create a more peaceful death experience. So I'm going to read the bio because it's so incredible, Deanna, because I want to make sure that I get everything in there. Deanna is an RN serving people with serious illness and the dying since 2000. She created the Quality of Life LLC, QLC, in 2006 to assist families and organizations serving people with advanced illnesses by developing and optimizing palliative and end-of-life support programs, as well as assisting lay and healthcare professionals in attaining their professional and personal goals. She's the creator of the Life Doula Training and Education through her course, Accompanying the Dying, a Practical Guide and Awareness Training. And in 2014, she created the world's first multidisciplinary community, the End of Life Practitioners Collective, to nurture and support independent practitioners and to be a directory for consumers. Not only has she been featured in the New York Times, she is the author and of the forthcoming book, But I'm Not Dying, Palliative Care from Diagnosis Onward. Wow. That is awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Deanna. I can't wait to jump in and find out all the wonderful things that you're doing in your community, and also in the whole world.
It's great to be here, Heather. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, Deanna, can you, first of all, it's kind of, for me, it's kind of the elephant in the room. So I kind of want to just talk about it. It's death, right? It's death. And a lot of people are afraid to talk about death. And it's not everybody's favorite subject. And it's so important. What you do is so important to help people through that process to really be a support. How did you get drawn into that? How did you feel called to do that kind of work?
You know, I have heard so many people's stories, and I wasn't like any of them. And I find that funny that, I went to my first vigil when I was 13, and then a dying vigil of a woman that I bought candy from my whole life up to that point. We lived in Washington D.C. and she was in Laredo, and my grandmother, my father's mother, lived across half a block away. Still rocky roads, and we would go every year, at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, make a drive down there. And I was 13 and laying on the couch, and my grandmother said, "Come with me." And I was in cutoff shorts and a t-shirt, and she didn't ask me to change or anything. I just put on my flip-flops and went, and it was she was dying, and there was a vigil around the bedside, and I'll just never forget it. And I just knew what to do. It wasn't uncomfortable even for me then. And my first brush with death was when I was like 6 or 7 or 8, and we were living in Fairfax, Virginia. And at that time, it was hush hush. Nobody could talk about it around me. I wasn't invited. I asked to go to the funeral. It was, oh no, no, no. It was like this big, big, huge, dark thing over there that I was kept from. And so when this happened, and I had no idea where I was going, and when I arrived in this room, like as we kept walking, it was a poor home, and the remodels, just the slope of the roof just kept going. So, and she was very short. So by the time we got to the back room, I was kind of like walking around like that. But I can't tell you how it lifted me up as a person, as a human being, even at that young age. I didn't realize it was giving me self-esteem.
Wow.
But looking back on it, that feeling of being trusted to be taken to somewhere so important.
Wow.
That I was invited into that space. Like, I didn't have those words, but I'm getting chills just even remembering it,
Yeah.
It just gave me something at a time when I remember it was a hard time in my life, and I just remember feeling so important.
Wow.
But I didn't go off after that thinking, oh, I'm going to do this for life. It wasn't at all like that. It was just an experience. And what happened in nursing school, that's when it hit me that I wanted to serve the dying, was second semester nursing school. They were looking for having to assign us for community rotation, and there were 2 hospice spots. And I just had to have one, and I didn't know why, and I didn't think of hospice before then, and I was bored to death in nursing school at that time, and I cannot even believe it, how we were just standing around waiting for her to read her list, and when she said hospice, I was like, I have to have that. And what's so funny is that people around me knew that too. And so I had other people going to say, she really needs to have one of those spots.
Wow.
And that I did everything from that moment forward to do my best in nursing school, and so that I could work with the dying, and did everything and worked, and just everything was for that. It's been on ever since.
I love that story for so many reasons. I mean, so many reasons. First of all, that you were given this gift of having an experience with death that most people don't have. Most people are terrified. But yeah. I also love it. My head's slipping. I got to get the balance just right. I also love it because it's your brand story. And I find that a lot of times when I'm talking to people working on their brands, they don't always understand the connection to what they're doing from something that happened many, many years earlier. And it often is the case that if you look at your brand, it really is a reflection of poignant moments in your life. And you might not always know that right at the get-go, right? I mean, one of my stories when I'm talking about my brand is honestly, one of my earliest memories is sitting on a street corner, waiting for one of my girlfriends to come home from school and singing, like making up a song like kids do. And I have a really distinct memory of going, oh man, I hope someone hears me and discovers me. And it wasn't like America's Got Talent or anything like that. It was just an organic desire to be seen and to be heard and to have my talent recognized. And now that I became a singer and a brand strategist. But that was a really, really early memory. And the same thing happened for you you didn't necessarily consciously connect that to what you're doing now, but and also because it was such a positive experience for you that you wanted more of that feeling whatever that was, and you
Yeah.
articulated it so beautifully just now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's my story. And my grandmother, I feel my grandmother with me all the time. And I've been told by many people, that she's with you, your grandmother, that people spot her, I
Mm.
mean, she's long gone, but it's just like, it's interesting how it's all working out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that that's it. When you can tap into that
Hmm.
energy that you had, maybe you didn't know right away when they said, Deanna gets hospice. Maybe you didn't connect it right away, but when you're
Hmm.
on brand and you're doing your calling, you have that kind of energy, right? I mean,
Yes.
and look at all the fantastic things that you're doing with your business and your career, but also all the people that you're impacting because of that experience. So many people are afraid of death, and it's a loss. It's sad. And talk to me about how you help people with that and support them so that it can be a peaceful experience.
When I was looking at the title, How to Have a Peaceful Death, you know, there's, gosh, right, we could talk for days. Um, I want to make a couple of points. So
Yeah.
there's the thought coming at it from just this end time. Say somebody's having a terminal illness of some sort, or they're coming towards the end of their life. There's looking at it from that perspective. Oh, okay, now we're dying. Now what are we going to do? And calling in hospice or calling in the family, creating it from this point forward, making sure the person's comfortable physically
Mm-hmm.
so that they can have the ability to have spiritual and emotional closure and experiences with their loved ones and themselves, putting things in perspective, putting everything in place. Um, all the kind of things that we think about when we think about dying. So there's looking at it from that angle, right? But really what the whole new death, it's called death positive movement is what I heard lately. And I thought, okay, I like that. I like death empowerment, movement. What really they're trying to say, and it's true, that if you plan for this far, like right now, like you and I, totally healthy that we know of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, And right now, if we wrote out our plan, how do we want to spend our last couple of years? Just think about it. If you know you're going to die. We all know we're going to die, but we don't plan for it. It's like we plan more for dinner than we do for our death. And so we plan birthday parties better than we plan our death. We just don't think about it. So what this death positive movement is, it's taking it way, way beyond before dying
Mm-hmm.
and living your life knowing you're going to die. If you lived your life every day knowing you're going to die in every cell,
Mm.
life is different than when you don't do that. And there's a practice, I don't know which group does this, but I think it's a Buddhist practice where they hold a human skull every morning in their practice.
Wow.
And I mean, that's pretty far out, right? But it's for that, then it's that to ground you in that you're done. Every day is a gift. Every
Mm-hmm.
single day. We don't
Yeah.
know if we're going to get hit by a bus, have a stroke, whatever, heart attack, whatever. Get cancer today, be gone in 5 weeks, like my mother. My mother was
Mm-hmm.
healthy, 61 years old, just came back from Machu Picchu, rollerbladed down Tampa Bay Boulevard. She's amazing. And then went and got a diagnosis and 5 weeks later was dead. That could
Wow.
happen to any of us. So if we lived with that consciousness, if we planned for our dying,
Mm-hmm.
not just who's going to take care of speaking for me, should I be unable to speak, and do I want to be cremated or do I want to be buried or what? Those things for sure. But most people don't even have those done.
And
But also, it's this living life well as
mm,
you, not just eating your peas and carrots, but I mean forgiveness and living fully and living your passion and being kind and serving your community and all the things that matter.
mm,
When people have the awareness that they aren't going to live forever, that they really are here for a limited time, what we hear is they live more fully
Mm-hmm.
and deeper relationships. It might not be that you have 100 friends, but the 2 friends that you have or the 1 friend that you have is good
Yeah.
because you're taking care of the relationship.
Yeah.
It's those pieces that people talk about at the end. I haven't talked to so and so in 100 years. I haven't said sorry. I feel so guilty for something I did. That's a big one.
Mm.
People go to their graves with huge guilt and wishing they could be forgiven. And I'm having trouble. I don't know where to look. I'm going to look right here. Okay. You know, those. I'm sorry if I'm going. Oh.
Can I ask you a
They
question
have.
around this, Deanna? Can I ask you a
Mhm.
question around this? Is that part of what you do for people is help them process those things so that they can die in peace? Is that part of your work to help them
It
to?
depends when I'm called in. I'm doing more training these days than serving,
Hmm.
but whenever all my calls are referrals, so whenever I get a call, I'll serve whoever calls me. That's my first priority.
Hmm.
And most of the time I'm called when people are already in a coma. The person who's dying is already out of consciousness. They're dying. So they're calling me to help them with vigil, like the last
Hmm.
few days to a week before they pass.
Hmm.
And another big time I'm called is when people are in crisis. So we're working in that crisis space where we're really not doing that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So I don't do the long walk with people for months at a time, uh, prior to their dying. I did as a hospice nurse, but not as an end of life doula. What I've been doing for people lately who aren't in crisis and who aren't dying are people calling me to make these kind of plans.
Hmm.
Where the last one, she lives out in the country. She's fine. Her husband's fine. She's only 62 or 3.
Hmm.
And she wanted to have her vigil plan done, her advanced direct. I have a copy of everything,
Hmm.
who's to be allowed in the room, who's not, that she doesn't want candles. She doesn't want people staring at her, that kind of thing. She has it
Hmm.
all laid out. I know exactly how she feels about things. So that if she should die before me, the people know to call me. I'm going to make sure
Hmm.
she has everything, and her husband. She told me specifically what to do with her husband if that should
That's
happen, if she
awesome.
should die before him. So
Well,
this
and then
is
the thing,
beautiful.
yeah, because then I'm just thinking of Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts of be prepared, because once you're
Yeah,
prepared, you can let go of it. I think you
yeah.
fixate on things that are not finished. And when it's finished and you have your plan and you've done what you can control, you can't control a lot of pieces, but what you can control, then you can put that piece of it, that gives you rest, and then you can go on and do all the things that you want to do to make your life full and rich, right?
Well, think about like background noise.
Yeah.
So things that we're afraid of or that we avoid, we
Hmm.
all kind of know this. I think we've read enough. I mean, we know enough of psychology to know that it's still guiding our moves.
Hmm.
Even though we're not addressing it, it's still very much in the driver's seat,
Right.
those fears, those things that we haven't uncovered. So to look at your own dying and death, to look at my own dying and death doesn't mean I'm inviting that in and I'm going to die tomorrow.
Hmm.
I mean, just think of all the botched suicide attempts. People aren't, so it's not it's not that.
Hmm.
It's that you're not inviting trouble. You're not inviting an early death. What you're doing is planning
Hmm.
and releasing
Right.
and living your life. That's
Yeah.
it.
But people can't do that. Most people have a very difficult time doing that on their own. And that's why I love your work so much.
Yeah.
And now, not only are you doing this, but what I love is that you've taken your passion and created your own unique business around it. And you've leveraged your experience to teach others how to do it as well. So talk to me about that part of it, about how you shifted your business model from being one light in the world to making many lights in the world, and also being savvy about it to grow your business and increase your wealth and your abundance to live a richer life in your time here on earth.
Wow. That's another, I feel like rags to, not rags to riches. I'm definitely not rich, but that whole, when I came from the nurse role And
Mhm.
nurse role, I'm always being paid by organizations, right? Hospices
Mhm.
or hospitals,
Mhm.
nursing homes, whatever. And when my mother died, the realization that I had, it's not that I was going to end up here today. It was that I wanted other people to have a hospice nurse daughter in their life, like
Mm.
my mother got to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
My mother she had a terrible GI cancer, gastrointestinal cancer that has a very poor outcome that she could have been in the hospital the whole time. And
Mm.
because of palliative care, and because I know palliative care, and because I didn't have, I never heard of non-hospice palliative care. I never heard about using the techniques that we had in hospice
Mhm.
upstream from hospice, like day of diagnosis. It wasn't
Yeah.
talked about back then in 2005. You didn't hear of it. There was a brand new grassroots movement that the Robert
Wow. So
Wood,
this is really new. I didn't realize it was so new
oh,
that
it's
this industry is.
new. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you are
Palliative
totally
care
groundbreaking,
outside.
Deanna.
Well, it's not me. I'm like a mouthpiece, but it's like it's a new movement absolutely to bring palliative care upstream from hospice. So that's been getting strong in the last 10 years,
Hmm.
but it's like kind of came in the forefront around 2000. But anyway, the thing is that most people still don't even know about it. So they might hear about it now because there's different things going on with Medicare that it's making it very beneficial for hospitals and everybody to start using palliative care because nobody was being paid for it. That's the thing. It's hard to get paid to
Well,
do
and that,
palliative care.
yeah, and that's one of the things that I love about what you're doing is that it's so important to have this gift to people, but anytime you're
Oh,
bringing,
okay.
yeah, anytime you're
Yeah.
bringing
So,
value to the world, whether it's as an artist or, making a product that makes people's lives more valuable. But I mean, what you do in your community is so precious. It's a massive value, life improvement value. But oftentimes people are underserved in their businesses when they're givers. And you've created this business model to really
okay,
empower
so let's
those
talk about
people
that.
to be
So,
profitable.
when my mother died, I got an inheritance, and I didn't know that you're supposed to ask for business. I just figured people saw you, they heard you speak, they said, "Oh, she knows what she's doing. Let's call her to help us." I
Hmm.
never knew you were supposed to ask. Do you need help? Would you like me to come work with you? Like this extra step that feels so intrusive, from a service.
Mm.
So I did, my mother's inheritance did fund this, my part of the movement for 2 years. And cause I had no idea how to ask for
Mm.
money or how to make money, how to support myself, anything. I just had the passion. I was everywhere talking about it. Anyway, when I finally, I had to go back to work, obviously, because, and then over time,
Mhm.
over years,
Yeah.
and working with different people and learning things and networking meetings from people like you, they would say, "Oh, you need a brand. Oh, you need to do a blog. Oh, you need to business card. You need this. You need that." So people all over the place groomed me because that wasn't in my mind. I just didn't have that
Mhm.
consciousness. And after it's just been since last year, since I started getting business coaching, um, a business mentor, because I didn't want to go back to work again. I wanted to do this vision
Mhm.
I have. People already know there's hospice, and hospice is taking care of so much wonderful stuff. People don't know how to get help from that time period from when treatments begin to stop working into hospice entry. This is the worst time of life for people who are going in and out of the hospital. There's symptom management is terrible for some people, and everybody knows somebody like this, in and out of the hospital, in and out of suffering, things not happening the way uh, for a nice, steady, comfortable decline. If we're not gonna drop dead from a heart attack, we're gonna have a decline. We're gonna have a slow decline to our death.
Mhm.
That's a natural death. If we don't have a heart attack or drop dead or have an accident, that's what's gonna happen. So for people who are dying
Mhm.
in a nice way, great. But for all the people who aren't, there's something that can help you, and that's called palliative care. So, and then you don't have to be on hospice to
Mhm.
have it. And the thing is, most people don't even come onto hospice to die. Only 44% of people die on hospice. The other big thing is most of them are only getting there the last week or two of life. So there's a lot of dying going on way before hospice.
And that's where your industry is really
care,
serving.
Non-hospice palliative care is that, look, the stuff that we know that works here too. You don't have to be dying right now to get it. You can walk in with get a diagnosis of like leukemia or something you fully expect to recover from, and have on this day one of diagnosis have a plan for cure and a plan for palliative services and palliative care. The other area that I have a big passion for is those days prior to death. That's an area that hospice knows they can't be there for people the way they want to be, the way a lot of people want them to be. There's an increase of need at that time. Hospice is doing a great job in many cases, and there's a lot of room for improvement, but it can't be from hospice. They're not made to be that 24-hour support during those days. It's just not what they're made for. So that's where that accompanying the dying, that end-of-life doula, that end-of-life practitioner comes in. So that's another.
And that's what you're training, and that's what you're training people to do.
I didn't think of doing that myself. People kept writing me and asking me, show me how to do what you're doing. And so after years of that, I created the program that I have. I never marketed it because I didn't know how. It just however people found me. And so for 10 years, pretty much, I wasn't making any money and borrowing a lot of money to do this work, and went through my mother's inheritance. So I guess my passion really drove this train, and I did anything I could to make it happen.
Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying the show. There's still more great content to come, but I wanted to take just a minute to talk to you about a new course I've created called Close Any Room. You may have noticed that all of my guests know how to speak about their businesses in a clear and compelling way. But that's something a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, and it's something you need to know how to do so you can convert your audience into more sales. And that's why I've created this course. It's a 6-week audio course to teach you how to craft a signature talk so that you can authentically give value and close more of your audience from the stage. In the class, you learn how to create a clear and compelling point of view, how to organize your content and give great value to your audience without giving away the farm, how to structure your talk so that it seamlessly closes your audience at the end without feeling salesy. And I also give you templates and instructions how to create marketing materials, a speaker sheet, and all kinds of sign-up sheets when you're giving your talks. And finally, what everybody's hot to know, I also give you tips and resources on how to find speaking gigs. It's an all-inclusive course so that you can start closing and selling more from the stage. And as my free gift to you for tuning into the podcast, I'm giving you my free webinar, also called Close Any Room, and you can listen to it at clearvoicebranding.com/close-any-room. And it will give you lots of tips and information to get you started on how to create that signature talk that sells. Okay, we're going to get back to the show now. There's still more great content to come. Thanks for joining me. So let me ask you this. What shifted for you in your business? What was the business savvy, the advice that stuck with you, that enabled you to go from just being passionate to being passionate and profitable? What's working for you in your business now? Yeah. Where was the shift so that people like who are maybe where you were a few years ago, who have such big hearts, they want a lot to give, but they also need to eat, and maybe they also want to enjoy the end of their life in a more abundant way?
I'll tell you what happened is my drive that I was going to go to nursing to graduate school. And then I was accepted at UT, University of Texas at Austin, to do a nurse practitioner program. And I decided, and I was going to do the doula thing through the nurse practitioner program so that I could be reimbursed by Medicare, right? I was going to try to make it work like that so I could get paid. But I realized that my movement was really growing. I knew things were changing and happening. And I said, I'm going to give it one more try. If after 2 years it's not happening, I'll go back to work and I'll be happy. Well, my time count period was coming, and I wasn't making money and I was still borrowing money. And I heard of this phenomenon of a business mentor. I never heard of that before. That's what changed, is I did not want to go back to work in the system that was already doing well. I wanted to do these pieces of where people needed help and awareness and training. And that's where I wanted to spend my time. And so I bit the bullet and I got help. And it was the best thing I ever did because it is paying off.
So what would you say that has been one of the biggest tools or things that you've learned from your mentors or from other people that you've learned from that has really shifted things for you? Because there are people who work with business mentors, who study, who maybe don't know nothing, when they maybe know something, but they're still not as profitable as they want to be. And you've really turned things around for yourself in your business and getting this word out. So what would be like a really great juicy tip for people that really turn things for you?
I would say if you're not making any money at what you're doing, then stop and get it. Quit trying to squeeze blood out of something you don't know how to do. Go get help. Just do it. Go get help from a business mentor. That's the biggest thing I can say, because what I don't know, I don't know. And I can beat that thing to death a million different ways. And I'm still not going to know. And I can tell you, you can wait and sit and wait and wait and wait and think it's going to come. And if it's not coming by now and you've been doing this at least a year or two, then you need help. Don't wait 10 years like I did. And the biggest thing is creating awareness. I'll tell you, I haven't done anything different. I am me. I do videos. My present business mentor, who's amazing, Tina Brinkley, she loves social media and she loves video and she loves all this stuff. And I don't know how to do any of it. And I feel totally ridiculous. And I'll get on, do my little videos, but this is my curly hair. I don't straighten it. I don't put on crazy makeup. I'm wearing my pretty new thing here, but I'm going to stay me. This is who I am. If you work with me, this is what you get. If you see me at a talk somewhere, you're not going to get this glossed out person. I don't believe in doing marketing. I believe in educating. That's how I'm getting my word out. It's about that. People have to know you're here.
Well, I love what you said. You said so many. Can I recap some of the things that you said? Because it was really great. First of all, do you, right? Do you know your industry? You're a death doula. You're it's an intimate experience. So it's, you want to be approachable. If you're too shiny, too glossy in your industry, it's maybe not going to have the right feel. So that wouldn't necessarily be on brand for you, right?
A different language.
Also,
I love it.
But then do your strengths, do what you're good at, and outsource the other things. If social media and back end and digital marketing isn't your strength, hire someone to do that so that you can really do your thing. But then the other thing that you said that I loved was you need to build awareness, and that you are doing. And I applaud you for that. You're showing up here. I mean, we're on this new platform of Blab, and you're getting your message out, and you are passionate and smart and articulate, and you've done groundbreaking work, and you come with a heart of service, and you're showing up. And that is, who said it? Oh gosh, who said it? Was it Woody Allen? Who said, showing up is 80%, and it really is. Showing up and having something of value to share, and you certainly do, Deanna. So I really applaud you for saying that.
I need to applaud you, because when you recapped, you said things that are out of my, I don't even know what you said, but I know it's important, and that's why we need to hire people like you. You can see me, right? And you can see what I'm about and what I want to do.
Yes, I see your lovely
and
face.
Why maybe so-and-so's not hearing me, why people aren't hearing the message. It's not because I'm not out here saying it, but we need people like you. So I think the days of thinking that we're going to go out and just start a nonprofit and hope somebody hears about us and just our heart is enough are over. We need to create awareness in an industry that people aren't aware of. We need to bring in bigger guns. And that's what I feel I'm doing
Yeah.
is I'm hiring people and I'm spending a lot of money. Yes, but you know what? It's happening. They're helping me to create revenue as well. So that way other people can hear about it
Yeah.
and do it. I feel like I'm doing it for everybody. It's not just for me. So anytime I'm in the New York
And I
Times,
love,
that's helping the other doulas everywhere else. If somebody else is in Medscape or whatever, that's helping me. That's helping the whole movement. So it's all good.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I'm giving you a heart because I love that because you have a big heart too. And I just love what you just said. And it's really spreading the love, right? And ultimately getting your service and your value and your love to the people that need it most. So how, Deanna, can you shoot out your URL? How do people get in touch with you if they want to know more about your services for their
Oh,
families,
okay.
for a loved one, or if they're interested in more training to be a death doula and you know, or learn from you on how to be more profitable in an industry where they have a lot of passion but don't know the business
Um,
part of it. So can you tell us how to get in touch
yeah,
with
the
you?
best way is my mothership is qualityoflifecare.com. And that'll have,
Mm-hmm.
you can see if you want training for end of life practitioner, it's there. It'll have if you want services as for me to come and help your family. And I do corporate work too. So it has it all there. So you can just go where
Mm-hmm.
you want. And my email is Deanna,
Okay.
DEANNA at qualityoflifecare.com.
Okay, cool. And I'm this is sort of new to me, but I don't know if you can type that in the
Oh,
chat or if maybe someone can type that in the chat for us and people
yeah.
can
Okay.
see that
That's
as
good.
well.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. And while you're doing that, last question, Deanna, what are you most grateful for? I like to ask that
Ah,
question because branding and living an authentic life, and you said it before, is about
do you know what
gratitude
the
too.
best
So
part of all this
one thing
is in
what's that?
being an entrepreneur, this is the biggest aha or gift, something I didn't know was going to happen. In being an
Mm,
entrepreneur, in order to actually come out and say, this is what it costs to work with me. That even sounds like, I can't believe I
mm,
just said that out loud. But when you say that, that means you have to put a value on what that is. That means you're looking at your self-worth and your self-value in
mm-hmm,
a huge way. What's great about that is that it helps you to do your internal work so that you can get on the level with what actually, if you have a low self-esteem and you've been beat up by life and you haven't done your healing yet, it's going to get you there. If you've done a lot of your healing and you're pretty good, it's
mm,
going to help finesse those areas where you're still undershooting yourself, undermining yourself. So what it does is it has the potential to make you a better person for the world, a more authentic person for yourself. The more genuine and authentic I am, the better I'm going to be at my job, which my job in the world, it doesn't even feel like a job, but my role in the world is to nurture other doulas who can nurture families and to nurture families myself. So that internal work, I wasn't even thinking that was part of entrepreneur. I thought entrepreneur was making money, and I always resisted that. But really, it's about being more authentic and knowing your value.
oh, I love that. I love that, and it's both, right? It's knowing your value
You have
and
to make
making
money.
money
It's just you
and
have to do it.
valuing money and
Yeah.
and valuing money, valuing yourself, accepting money, accepting wealth, giving value. It's
It's a
just this,
giveaway. I do so
love
much pro bono
circle.
work, it's not even funny. And so the people that can pay, they pay and they pay me well. And the people who can't, nobody's ever asked me to give them anything. But when I get a referral, they'll
Mm.
say they have no money or they have money or whatever. And so it just works out. I'm not a nonprofit. I'm not hired by the church. So I have to figure out my own economy. And that's how it works for me. And that's how the people that I work with work. They get paid well. And when someone comes to them that doesn't have any money, they pro bono it or slide it. And it's all good. It works out.
Yeah, I love that. That's a tweetable. I make my own economy, right? I make my own economy. Well, Deanna, I'm grateful. Whoa, I am grateful for
I'm
you
grateful
and
for you.
for all the gifts that, oh, thank you for all the gifts that you bring and the peace and healing and love that you bring to your clients and that you spread, and for all your insights about how to transition from being a giver to being a giver and receiver of real value as an entrepreneur. And I also want to applaud you for showing up. You have been a great guest, and you showed up as an expert and a person of great value. And I'm always looking for people just like you to talk to share more value, to be on the show. So thank you so much for being here. And I want to thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I want to thank you all for joining as well. And if you would like to learn how you can become stage ready like Deanna and show up on shows like this show and show your expertise and grow your audience, I invite you to visit my website URL, which is clearvoicebranding.com/close-any-room, and you can take a free webinar and learn how to create a stage-ready brand so you can show up just like Deanna did and really immense. Okay, until next time, everybody, thanks for joining us, and here's to hitting all your high notes. Take care.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Thrive. I loved having you here. I love having you as part of my community. And if you're enjoying the show, I would love it if you share it with your friends on Twitter, on Facebook, or wherever they're hanging out. I also want to let you know you can leave me feedback or comments. I love hearing from you. Just post those at heatherpoduska.com. You can also leave suggestions for topics that you'd like to know more about, or if there's someone you'd really like to see on the show, let me know that as well. Okay, until next time, here's to hitting all your high notes. Take care. Bye-bye.